Hey guys, I'm Urizi. This story is all about what if Naruto was adopted by a goddess. A blonde-haired boy wakes up in a world he has never seen before. With only a note from his new mother as his guide, he tries to start a new life in this new world and discover his true heritage. Little did he know, he will be stuck in between a feud that could mean the end of the world. Before we proceed with the story, please like and subscribe to this channel if you liked the video, and don't forget to check the description for the other works of the author if you liked the story. Let's start. Chapter 16, The War God's Request. Percy, this is okay. The biker said. I don't mind the attitude. Long as you remember who's the boss. You know who I am, little cousin. Percy took a good look at him. He knew he had seen that vicious sneer somewhere. Then, it hit him. You're Clarissa's dad. He said, Ares, the god of war. On point, little cousin. The biker grinned and took off his sunglasses. In his eye sockets, there were fires glowing like small nuclear explosions instead of eyes. I saw you break Clarissa's spear over on Hephaestus TV. He continued. She was your Ares. Naruto shouted as he was broken from his split personality. I was expecting you to look like the Ares in the God of War games. What? Ares didn't know what to say at the blonde's comment. Annabeth hit Naruto with his shoulder while the other two were stifling their laughter. Ow! Naruto said. I was just pointing it out. The God of War was able to gather his composure and cleared his throat. Well, they don't always get us right, do they, little nephew? Yeah. I guess so. At that moment, the waitress came back with heaping trays of cheeseburgers, onion rings, fries, and chocolate shakes. The demigod's eyes lit up at the sight of the food, but Naruto didn't seem satisfied and said, I don't suppose you have any ramen here. I'm afraid not, young man. The waitress shook her head. Oh, thanks anyway, ma'am. Naruto replied. It's so hard to find ramen here. He grumbled to himself. Here, Ares handed the waitress a few golden drachmas. But, these aren't. The waitress tried to complain. Ares snapped his fingers. Look again. He said. Oh, I am sorry, sir. She apologized and excused herself. You can't just. Percy tried to say, but Grover covered his mouth and said, Lord Ares, to what do we owe this meeting? I'm here to give you squirts a proposition. I need you to do me a favor. Percy pushed off Grover's hand and asked, what favor could we do for a god? Nothing much. Just something a god doesn't have time to do himself. I left my shield at an abandoned water park here in town. I was going on a date with my girlfriend, when we were interrupted, and I wasn't able to get my shield. I want you kids to fetch it for me. Why should we? Naruto said as his eyes flashed from red to blue. We're already on a quest. Ares looked at him with amusement. The blonde was slowly getting affected by the God of War's aura again. So the rumors are true. You really are a Jinchuriki. No wonder Pops is afraid of you. Percy instantly recognized the word. He remembered Echidna mention the word back at the arch. The others, on the other hand, were surprised at the new word they heard. What's he talking about, Naruto? Percy asked. Naruto ignored him. If we get that shield, what's in it for us? I know all about your quest, punk. When the item was stolen, he sent out his best out looking for it, me, Athena, Artie, Apollo, you get the drill. If we couldn't sniff it out, I doubt you punks will. And as I can see, you're out of supplies. We're doing fine on our own. Naruto said, while his friends just stared at him. Yeah, right. As far as I see, you got no money, no wheels, no clue what you're up against. If I hadn't come to bail you out with that waitress, you'd be screwed. Come on, just help me out, and I'll tell you something about a certain Sally Jackson. He proposed. The boys perked up at the mention of Sally's name. Mom. And Sally. Ares grinned. That got your attention. The water park is a mile west of Delancey. You can't miss it. Look for the Tunnel of Love. Naruto, we have to. Percy pleaded. Fine. Naruto relented with gritted teeth. Just know that I'm not doing this for Aunt Sally, not for you. Whatever, punk. Ares shrugged. I'll meet you back here when you're done. Don't disappoint me. The group went out of the diner leaving Ares at the table. Not good. Grover bleated. This is not good. Ares sought you out. They looked back at the table. Ares was gone, so was his motorcycle. This is stupid. Naruto complained. Why do we have to listen to that jerk? Look Naruto, as much as I hate Ares, we can't ignore the gods unless you want some really bad fortune. I mean, he could turn you into a rodent if he wanted to. Annabeth said. Plus, he knows something about my mom. We can't let that go. Percy added. Naruto sighed. Okay. Let's just go. At the water park. The group begrudgingly made their way to the water park. By the time they made it to their destination, the sun was already sinking behind the mountains. Judging by the sign, the water park had once been named Waterland, but due to aging, some letters were already smashed off so it read Watrad. The main gate was padlocked and topped with barbed wire. Inside, there were huge dry water slides, tubes, and pipes, curled everywhere leading to empty pools. Old tickets fluttered everywhere across the place. The scenery told the demigods that a substantial amount of time had passed since there were people here. When you add the setting sun to all of this, the place looked creepy. If Ares takes his girlfriend here for a date, I hate to see what she looks like. Percy commented. Annabeth and Grover looked at their clueless friend. I wouldn't say that if I were you. Grover said. Why? What's the problem? Percy asked. Percy, you don't want to insult Ares' girlfriend. She can be, temperamental. Who? Percy asked, still clueless. Aphrodite's his girlfriend, right? Naruto said. The other two nodded. But I thought she was married with the blacksmith god. Percy said. Hephaestus, right? That's a story for another time. I think you don't want to know anyway, Annabeth said. Plus, we have a side quest, don't we? Fine, Percy relented. How do we get in? Maya. Grover's shoes sprouted wings making him fly over the fence, did an unexpected somersault and stumbled to a landing on the other side. Percy and Annabeth were about to climb when Naruto called out to them. Wait. What? They asked. Naruto held out his hand and formed a mini Rasengan on his palm, and slammed it on the lock, destroying it. He opened the gate and the three entered the compound. They took one good look around before beginning their search. There were absurd names for rides like Ankle Biter Island, Head Over Wedgie, and Dude, Where's My Swimsuit? The names almost made Naruto want to crack up. Almost. No monsters came out to get them. Nothing made even the slightest noise. They found a souvenir shop that was still open. Surprisingly, it wasn't cleared of merchandise before the water park closed down. There were snow globes, pencils, postcards, and racks of. Finally. Some clothes. Annabeth said. Fresh clothes. Yeah, Percy said. But you can't just. Watch me. Annabeth snatched a whole rack of clothes and disappeared into the changing room. The boys shrugged and did the same. A few minutes later, the group came out looking like walking advertisements for the defunct theme park. Before leaving, they didn't forget to pack extra clothes in the Waterland bags that they also found in the store. They got out of the store and continued looking for the shield. Eventually, they made it to an empty pool that looked like a turnpike now that it was empty. It was at least 50 yards across and was shaped like a bowl. Around the rim, there were dozens of cupids standing guard with wings spread and ready to fire. On the opposite side, a tunnel opened up, which the group figured where the water flowed into when the pool was full. The sign above it read, Thrill Ride O Love, this is not your parents' tunnel of love. Grover crept to the edge. Guys, look. Right at the bottom of the bowl-shaped pool was a pink two-seater boat with a canopy over the top and little hearts painted over it. Easy, Percy said. Come on. Too easy. Naruto added. These Cupid statues are looking awfully suspicious. I agree. Annabeth nodded. She ran her fingers along the base of the nearest Cupid statue. There's a Greek letter carved here. ETA. I wonder. Grover, you smell any monsters? Percy asked. He sniffed the wind. Nothing. Nothing like, in the Archan you didn't smell a kidna nothing, or really nothing. Grover looked hurt. Before the satyr could answer, Naruto knocked on Percy's head. Cut him some slack, Percy. Yeah, Percy. That was underground, remember? Grover added. Okay, I'm sorry. Percy apologized. I'm going down there. Annabeth volunteered. If this were some kind of machine, maybe I could figure it out. I'll go with you. Grover offered, trying to make up for what happened in St. Louis, but he didn't sound enthusiastic. No. Percy told him. I want you to stay up here with Naruto. You guys could get us out in a jiffy when something goes wrong. Naruto looked a little jealous, so he just joked. Wow, Percy. Making a move already, are we? Annabeth and Percy realized the situation, so both of them turned tomato red. And no, it's not like that. Percy stammered, while the other two boys were beginning to crack up. Annabeth immediately decided to back out, but Percy was already on his way down the ladder. Wait. I can't do this. What now? Percy asked. Me, go with you to the thrill ride of love? How embarrassing is that? What if someone saw me? Annabeth said. Snickers were heard from the boys waiting on top. This place is empty. We're the only ones here. Who else could see you? Percy countered. Fine. Seaweed brain. Thrill ride of love. She mumbled to herself. Way to make it more complicated, guys. Percy thought. The duo made it on the boat. The shield was propped up on one of the seats. Next to it was a lady's scarf. Up close, the two could see a mirror wrapped around the whole rim of the pool facing the boat. Percy picked up the scarf, and the smell of perfume permeated his nose. He smiled, a dreamy smile, brought it up to his face. Before he could rub it on his cheek, Annabeth grabbed it out his hand and stuffed it in her pocket. Oh no, you don't. Stay away from that love magic. She scolded. What? Oh, just get the shield, seaweed brain, and let's get out of here. With Naruto and Grover. Back at the top of the pool, Naruto was observing the area for obvious traps. Annabeth's embarrassments made her forget to check the area for traps. They're still arguing. Grover commented. Naruto chuckled at the satyr's comment. The blonde began noticing something wrong with the scene of the boat. Thin areas in front of the boat seemed to shimmer like the wires that Shinobi used, only it was gold. He saw Percy about to grab for the shield, so he tried to warn him. Percy. Wait, no. It was too late. Percy already grabbed the shield. With Percy and Annabeth. As Percy grabbed the shield, Annabeth heard an audible snap, like a wire was cut. Oh no. It's a trap. She said. You were supposed to check for traps. Percy scolded. Shut up. It's too late now. Annabeth said in defense. Another Greek letter glowed on the boat. Noise erupted around them, like a million gears grinding, as if the whole pool was a giant machine. The Cupid statue drew their bows into a firing position. Percy was about to suggest to get down, when the Cupids fired, but not at them. They fired at each other, across the rim of the pool. Silky cables trailed from the arrows, arcing over the pool and anchoring where they landed to form an asterisk. This can't be good. Naruto mumbled. Guys. Grover yelled from across the room. We have to get out of here. Percy yelled at Annabeth. Well, duh. Annabeth yelled back. Both of them ran towards their friend. Grover was trying to open a section for their friends. Likewise, Naruto tried cutting the wire, but the wire was enchanted and kept wrapping back together. Live to Olympus in 1 minute. 59 seconds. 58 seconds. Where'd that come from? Percy asked. All around them, the Cupids' heads opened, revealing cameras pointed at the car where the shield was. Of course. Annabeth screamed in realization. What? Percy asked. Hephaestus, the daughter of Athena, continued. The ETA is H in Greek. I'm so stupid. He must have set up this trap for Ares and his wife. We're about to look like fools. They almost made it to the rim of the pool, but Annabeth stopped dead in her tracks when she heard the familiar pitter-patter of little legs. The mirrors around the pool opened like hatches which revealed thousands of tiny metallic spiders poured out. As soon as she saw them, she screamed. SSS spiders. Annabeth said. Spy 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 ah. Oh no. Naruto said. Percy and Annabeth had to retreat back to the boat. Well, for Annabeth, she was more of dragged to the boat car, since she was frozen in fear. Arg. Naruto complained. This is getting nowhere. The blonde quickly made the necessary hand signs and breathed in deeply. Wind style, wind scythe jutsu. A sharp wind blew towards the net, cutting it to pieces. The wind was able to slice through the net. 15. 14. At the exact moment, Percy was able to summon water from the pipes, washing away the spiders. That the water was working well, and was dragging the boat away in the current towards the exit. The only problem is there was no way to stop the boat. They were going to slam into wall outside. Grover, the switch. Naruto ordered as he jumped in the pool and ran for the boat without waiting for Grover to answer. Hey there. Naruto greeted his friends as he got there. Hang on tight. 3. 2. 1. The Cupid cameras were now rolling. Grover raised his hands from the control panel, signaling he tried every button in the control panel. Damn it. This thing isn't working. Naruto complained. The water in the pool rose to the point that they were almost at the level of the net. Percy followed his gut feeling and concentrated on the boat, controlling it to ride the current. Surprisingly, the boat was responding. Then, the boat turned towards the tunnel and they rocketed through the darkness. Naruto held on to Annabeth. She was still shaking at the ordeal she had with the spiders. The boat hugged corners and plunged 45-degree plunges past a bunch of Valentine Day stuff. At the end of the ride, there were 2 other boats smashed upon a chained gate of love which led to the exit pool. We're gonna have to jump. Naruto suggested. Are you crazy? Percy scolded. Unless you want to be smashed to pieces. The blonde pointed out. Percy strapped the shield to his arm. The 2 of them readied for the jump. On my mark. The 2 boys said at the same time. Fine. You do it. Naruto relented. Percy waited for the right moment. Just before they crashed, Percy shouted for them to jump the gate. Naruto was able to clear the gates, but Percy wasn't as lucky. The son of Poseidon foot was caught in the gate, making him fall face first to the ground. Fortunately, Grover caught Percy through his shirt, slowing their fall. The demigods sat on the ground catching their breath. 100 yards away from them, there were still Cupid statues filming them. A grin made its way to Naruto's lips and he got up and walked to one of the Cupid cameras. What are you? Grover asked in between breaths, but he was not able to finish. Ladies and gentlemen, gods and goddesses, thank you for tuning in. This show is made possible by Ares and his shield. Remember, if you want a good show, Ares is your go-to god. Good night, Olympus. After that, the cameras stopped rolling and retracted back into the statue. Even the lights shut off. Percy, Annabeth, and Grover just looked at each other and burst out into laughter. Come on guys. We got a shield to return. Annabeth said as soon as the round of laughter was over. Back at the diner. Well, Ares greeted the demigods when they arrived. You didn't get yourself killed. Why do I get a feeling you knew it was a trap? Naruto said with bipolar-like behavior returning. Ares gave out a wicked grin. Bet that crippled blacksmith was surprised when he netted a couple of stupid kids. You looked good on TV. Percy shoved the shield at the war god, jerk. Annabeth and Grover caught their breath. Ares grabbed the shield and spun it in the air. It changed form as it spun, melting into a bulletproof vest and slung it across his back. See that truck over there? He pointed to an 18-wheeler parked across the street from the diner. That's your ride. Take you straight to LA, with one stop in Vegas. The truck had a sign on its back saying, Kindness International, Humane Zoo Transport. You're kidding. Percy said. Aries snapped his fingers. The back door of the truck unlatched. Free ride west, punk. Stop complaining. And here's a little something for doing the job. He slung a blue nylon backpack off his motorcycle's handlebars and tossed it to Percy. Looking inside, the demigods saw fresh clothes, $20 in cash, a pouch full of drachmas, and a bag of double-stuffed Oreos. We don't want you louse. Thank you, Lord Ares, Grover said as he placed a hand on Percy's mouth. Thanks a lot. Percy gritted his teeth. It was hard for him to accept something from the war god, not after what they went through because of him. He also knew that his aggression was due to his presence, reminding him of every bully he ever faced, Nancy Bobofit, Clarice, Smelly Gabe, teachers from every school he got expelled from. You owe me one more thing. Percy demanded, trying to keep his voice calm. You promised me information about my mother. While Percy was talking with the war god, Annabeth noticed Naruto's ordeal and placed a hand on his shoulder after seeing him in his condition. That and the mention of Sally made the older blonde perk up and look ahead. As he raised his head, he saw the waitress who served them earlier dragging the fry cook to the window and whispered something to the cook's ear. He held up a disposable camera and snapped a photo of them. Shit. He said, getting the son of Poseidon's attention. What? Annabeth asked. We're gonna make the papers again. The older blonde said while indirectly pointing at the window. The others followed his gaze. They all sighed. So, my mother. Percy said back to Ares. You sure you can handle the new? The war god said. Just spill it. Naruto demanded. She's not dead. Ares said as he kick-started his motorcycle. The ground seemed to spin beneath the two boys' feet. What? What do you mean? They said at the same time. You saw her glow in a shimmer of golden light, right? That wasn't death. It was metamorphosis. She's being kept. Why? A hostage. A bargaining chip. It was Naruto who answered his question. Whoever's keeping her wants to have the edge over us. Bingo. You've got to learn a thing or two from Blondie over here. Ares said to Percy. You're pretty smug, Lord Ares, for a guy who runs away from Cupid statues. Percy countered. Behind the war god's glasses, the fire seemed to glow hotter. We'll meet again, Percy Jackson. Next time you're in a fight, watch your back. He revved his Harley, and then roared off down Delancey Street. That was not smart, Percy. Annabeth scolded. Ares is the last god you want to pick a fight with. Grover added. I don't care. Percy said. Guys. Naruto called his friend's attention and pointed to the diner. Our ride's about to leave. At the register, the last two customers were paying their check, two men wearing identical coveralls, with a white logo on their backs that matched the one on the back of the truck. Naruto made a run for the truck with his friends at his tail. The moment the demigods entered the car, the first thing that hit them was the smell. It was like the world's biggest kitty litter. It was pitch black at the back of the truck, so Percy had to uncap his sword to provide some lighting. The blade's faint bronze light revealed to the demigods a tear-jerking scene. In a row of filthy cages were the most pathetic zoo animals the group has ever seen, a zebra, a male albino lion, and is that an antelope? I'm not sure. Someone thought it was a good idea to give the lion a sack of turnips and a styrofoam tray of hamburger meat were given to the zebra and antelope. The zebra's mane was streaked with chewing gum, like someone was spitting on it in their spare time. The antelope had a stupid birthday balloon tied to one of its horns that read, "Over the hill." It was apparent that no one wanted to go near the lion to mess with him, but the poor thing was pacing through his cage that was clearly too small for him and panting from the stuffy heat of the trailer. Flies buzzed around the once proud animal and his ribs began to show, pointing out his lack of nutrition. This is kindness. Grover yelled. Humane Zoo Transport. The satyr was about get out to beat up whoever was in charge of the truck, and Percy looked like he was about to join him when the engine roared to life, causing the trailer to shake. The shaking of the trailer made the demigods, save for Naruto, fall upon each other. Ow! The three who fell shouted. "Why are you still standing up?" Percy said to the older shinobi while he nursed his backside. "Same principle as how I walked up the pillar in the dining pavilion." Naruto answered nonchalantly. "You guys okay? We'll live." Annabeth answered. A few minutes later, as the truck cruised through the highway, the demigods huddled together at the feed sacks, trying to ignore the smell, the heat, and the flies. Grover and Naruto tried to make small talk with the animals, but they just stared at them blankly. Annabeth suggested breaking them free of the cages to free them, but Percy pointed out that it won't do any good until the truck stopped moving. Naruto felt sorry for the animals, so he got up and headed towards the animals. "What are you?" Percy asked. Naruto found a water jug and refilled their bowls, then dragged the mismatched food out of the cages. He gave the meat to the lion and the turnips to the zebra and the antelope. Seeing their friend doing this made the remaining demigods get up to help Naruto. Grover calmed the antelope down while Annabeth cut the balloon off the antelope's antlers. Annabeth wanted to do the same with the zebra, but Percy pointed out that it was risky with the moving truck. Grover and Naruto promised the animals that they'd help them in the morning, then the demigods settled in for the night. Chapter 17, The Lotus Hotel. The ride at the back of the truck felt like forever. For our demigods, time seemed to flow differently when they didn't see what was going on outside. The only thing they could do was try to get as comfy as possible. Grover curled up on the bag of turnips. Annabeth sat beside some of the crates eating the stuffed Oreos that Ares gave them. Naruto and Percy sat close to the daughter of Athena so they can get some of the food too. Guys," Annabeth said out of the blue. "Sorry for freaking out at the water park." All the others looked at her in direction. "That's okay," Percy answered. "It's just..." She shuddered. "Spiders, and I can't keep relying on you guys all the time. I mean, Naruto had to bail me out. That thing with the spiders." Percy changed the subject. "It's because of Arachne, right? She challenged your mom to a weaving contest." Annabeth nodded. "Arachne's children have been taking revenge on the children of Athena ever since. If there's a spider even a mile away from me, it will find me. I hate those creepy little things. Anyway, thanks Naruto. That's what teammates are for, remember?" Naruto said. "We got each other's back. Besides, we got Grover, the first flying goat," Percy added. Annabeth let out a small smile. "Thanks guys." The whole time, the demigods thought their satyr friend was asleep, but he mumbled from the corner, "I was pretty good, wasn't I?" A round of laughter came through the group. "Oh yeah!" Percy exclaimed. There was the term Ares said back at the diner. Echidna said it too. What was it again? Jinchuriki? Why? Annabeth asked. Any idea what that means? Percy asked. Naruto, upon hearing them talking about it, pretended to be asleep. He wasn't ready to tell his friends about it yet for fear that their attitude towards him would change. Let's ask Naruto, Annabeth suggested. Naruto faked a snore to signify he was asleep. In his mind, he had his fingers crossed that his friends would buy it. Oh, he's already asleep, Annabeth said. The remaining three decided to talk about other stuff until they fell asleep. Naruto opened his eyes in a new location. He was in an alleyway somewhere he didn't know. Hiding behind a dumpster was a group of demigods. One of them was a boy that looked like a younger version of Luke. The last one looked like a kid version of Annabeth. And the last one was a girl with shoulder-length, spiky black hair, electric blue eyes and freckles across her nose. Naruto found himself blushing when he saw the black-haired girl. They seemed to be cooking some food. When Naruto took a whiff of the food they were eating, his stomach grumbled. And so, he found himself walking towards the group. The older girl in the group saw Naruto walking towards them and drew a spear out of nowhere and aimed it at the blonde. The blonde was surprised at black-haired girl's actions and instinctively felt at his ankle to draw a kunai. Fortunately, His pouch was there, so he drew a kunai, ducked under the spear and aimed the kunai under her chin. The girl's companions were startled by what happened and drew their weapons. I guess I'm faster than you. Naruto grinned. How did you? The black-haired girl stuttered. And I guess I'm outnumbered. Naruto continued. Who are you? How did you find this place? The boy who looked like Luke demanded. This is our home. You won't let us leave. The little Annabeth said. Relax, I won't hurt you. Naruto said, raising both his hands. I'm just an orphan looking for a place to spend the night. I thought this place was empty. The three looked at each other and sheathed their weapons. You pretty good with that weird knife for an orphan. Thalia said. What's your name? The name's Naruto. He introduced himself. Who are you guys? I'm Thalia. Sorry for the outburst, we were just getting attacked lately. The name's Luke. I'm Annabeth. Pleased to meet you guys. Naruto said with a smile. At that moment, Naruto's stomach grumbled aloud, causing the whole group to burst out into laughter. Gee, I forgot I was getting hungry. Naruto excused himself. You're welcome to join us. Thalia offered. Thalia, Luke tried to protest but Thalia cut him off. Are you sure? Naruto said. Thalia nodded. In return, maybe I could help you get more supplies. Naruto said. Sure. The now bigger group enjoyed their meal while talking about their backgrounds. Naruto and Thalia kept looking at each other, getting each other flustered, but the two of them hid it pretty well. Suddenly, there was a banging sound coming from behind the dumpster, and then everything dissolved around them. The next day. It was the morning of June 14th, about a week left before the summer solstice. Naruto opened his eyes again. This time he was in the back of the truck. It was just a dream, he thought. He didn't have time to think about it because he heard Grover shaking Percy's shoulder to wake him up. The truck stopped, he said as quietly as he said. I think they're coming to check on the animals. Hide. Annabeth hissed and put on her invisibility cap. Easy for her to say. Percy complained. Just hide. Naruto raised a half-ram seal and disappeared. Sheesh, these guys have it easy. He complained again, but quickly dove behind the feed sacks with Grover. The trailer doors creaked open, allowing the sunlight and heat to pour inside. What was that? One of the truckers shuddered as he felt Annabeth accidentally brush against him. He looked around for a bit, and then shrugged. HMMP, must have been the wind. He turned back to the truck and complained, Man. He said, while swinging his hand in front of his nose. I wish I hauled appliances. He climbed inside and poured some water in the animals' dishes. You hot, big boy. He teased the lion, then splashed the rest of water in the bucket the lion's face. The lion roared in indignation. Yeah, the man said. Percy had to hold Grover back because the satyr was going to assault the trucker. The trucker then threw a squashed Happy Meal box at the antelope. He smirked at the zebra and said, How ya doin', Stripes? Least we'll be getting rid of you this stop. You like magic shows? You gonna love this one. They'll saw you in half. The zebra turned to Percy with fear evident in his eyes. Free me, Lord. Please. Percy heard clearly in his head. He was too stunned to react. Knock knock knock. A banging sound came from outside of the car. It must have been Annabeth. What do you want, Eddie? The trucker yelled, slightly annoyed. A voice came out from the outside, Maurice? What did you say? What are you banging for? Knock knock knock. What banging? Maurice rolled his eyes and went back outside, cursing at his partner. Once he was out of the truck, Annabeth appeared next to Percy and said, These guys can't be legal. No kidding, Grover said. He paused as if listening to the animals talking. The lion says these guys are animal smugglers. That's right. Percy heard in his mind. We've got to free them. Grover said. He and Annabeth looked to Percy since he was the leader of the quest. Open my cage, Lord. Please. I'll be fine after that. Percy was still in thought. He was wondering why he understood the zebra, but not the lion. Naruto placed a hand on Percy's shoulder. Come on, Percy. He is calling out to you. Right. Percy said. The older blonde turned to the whole group. Okay guys, pick a cage and open the locks. Outside, the two truckers were still arguing and throwing curses at each other. The team then picked their respective cages. Naruto picked the lion's cage, since the others were scared of it. Percy picked the zebra's cage, since the zebra was calling out to him. Grover picked the antelope's cage, while telling the animals not to flee just yet after the cage was open. Lastly, Annabeth scoured the place for any other animal that might have been hidden. Surprisingly, she found a smaller cage tucked in the innermost part of the truck. Inside it, there was a wolf pup snoring in the corner. Once the animals were free, the zebra, in particular, turned to Percy and bowed, while the other animals waited for Grover's cue. The satyr held up his hand and said something in a series of bleats. As soon as Grover was done, Maurice poked his head back inside to check on the animals, but the zebra leaped over him and into the street. Outside, the demigods could hear people yelling and screaming, and cars honking. Maurice was about to turn and chase after it, when Naruto threw one of the food bowls at the trucker, knocking him out cold. Eddie started chasing the zebra, but the police were hot on his tails. Oops, he said, scratching the back of his head. Threw it too hard. Let's get out of here. Annabeth said. The demigods jumped off the trucks and ran to a sidewalk and began walking like nothing happened. From what Naruto could tell, it looks like they were in Las Vegas. Will the animals be okay? Percy asked Grover. I mean, the desert and all? Don't worry, I placed a satyr's sanctuary on them. The satyr explained. Meaning? Meaning they'll reach the wild safely, he said. They'll find food, shade, whatever they need until they find a safe place to live. Why can't you place a blessing like that on us? It only works on wild animals. So it would only affect Percy. Annabeth joked. That's a good one. Naruto chuckled. Hey. Percy protested. Only kidding, Annabeth said, still laughing. They continued walking through the streets of Las Vegas. It was easily 110 degrees, and the demigods were sweating a lot, which added to the filth that they got from the truck. It was a good thing that everyone was focused on the escaped animals to care about them. Any of you guys have an idea where we are? Naruto asked. His three friends shook their heads. This is the first time we've been here too, so your guess is as good as mine. Percy said while the others nodded. More importantly, we need another way west. Annabeth said. But we have a week left before the solstice, right? Grover asked. Yeah, but unless we find another ride west, we're stuck here and out. Naruto explained. The demigods wandered aimless through the streets, not knowing where they were going. They passed the different sites, like the Monte Carlo, the MGM. They saw pyramids, a pirate ship, and the Statue of Liberty, which was pretty small, but that was enough to make the teens homesick. Eventually, they must have made a wrong turn because they were at a dead end. In front of them, there was a building. Over to the side of the main entrance, the sign read as Lotus Hotel and Casino. The entrance was a huge neon flower, and the petals are lighting up and blinking. No one was entering or exiting the building, but the door was open, so that the air conditioning was spilling out into the street. For some reason, it smelled like a lotus flower, not that any of them had smelled one before. The doorman saw them coming and called out, "Hey kids! You look tired. You want to come inside and sit down?" At first, Percy and the others were skeptical about trusting the doorman. I mean, they've been attacked by monsters ever since they left camp. Though, it didn't help that they were hot, hungry, and itching to change clothes. It wouldn't hurt to check it out. Percy reasoned. We got a week left, and not to mention the long day we had. Naruto still looked skeptical, but his mind was debating if they should stay there even just for a day. His growling tummy surely didn't help in his decision-making. One day should be just fine. Grover said. We could use the rest. Annabeth added. Guys. Naruto tried to reason. We don't have any money. Oh, don't worry about that. The doorman explained. The bill's already been taken care of, no extra charges, no tips needed. We should really get, he tried to say, but was interrupted by his growling stomach backslash. If you guys are hungry, you should try our newly added restaurant. The doorman offered. It's called Ichiraku. That did it for Naruto. His mind instantly decided to take up the offer of the doorman. Did I hear you right? Naruto exclaimed when he heard the golden word. Yes sir, Ichiraku ramen. The doorman replied. Let's go then. But guys, just for a day, alright. The blonde finally relented. The demigods walked through the door. Upon taking a look inside, all they could say was whoa. They saw a lobby that was a giant game room with just about every game from every generation, hundreds of them, basically any you can name, connected to a widescreen TV. There was a giant water slide snaking around a glass elevator, which went up about 40 floors. There was climbing wall at the side of the building, and an indoor bungee jumping bridge. There were virtual reality suits with working laser guns. Surprisingly, there were only a handful of kids playing. This meant that there was no waiting in line for games. The only other people there were the waitresses manning snack bars and others were distributing food. At the corner of Naruto's eye, he saw a sign which read, "This way to Ichiraku Ramen." The blonde marched his way in that direction, but a bellhop called for his attention. Hey! The bellhop said. Welcome to Lotus Casino. Here's your room key. But, we didn't book a room here. Naruto said. We have rooms already prepared for everyone. Just go to room 4001. If you need anything, like extra bubble baths or skeet targets for the shooting range, just call the front desk. Our number is by the phone up in your room. Before I forget, here are your Lotus Cash cards. They work in the restaurants and all the games and rides. He handed each of them a green plastic card. How much is in here? Percy asked. What do you mean? The bellhop gave him a quizzical look. I mean, when does it run out of cash? The bellhop laughed. That's funny. Cool. Anyway, enjoy your stay. Percy just shrugged it off and went to the elevator with his friends and took it upstairs with his friends. Their room was a suite with 4 separate bedrooms, each with bars stocked with sodas, candies, and chips. Each of the bedrooms had a hotline service, fluffy towels, and water beds with feather pillows. There were big screen televisions with satellite and high-speed internet in each room. The balcony had its own hot tub and a skeet shooting machine and a shotgun, just as the bellhop had said. Naruto tried one of the guns and shot a pigeon out of the sky, which crashed into a car down below. Finally, the view over the strip and the desert was amazing. Oh, goodness, Annabeth said. This place is awesome. The 3 boys simultaneously screamed. The demigods called dibs on which room they wanted, and they broke off into their respective rooms for a shower and a change of clothes. Percy, who was carrying Aries' backpack, threw it in the trash can by the door before going to his room. When Naruto was done showering, he opened his closet. Surprisingly, inside were a bunch of orange clothes with some like the ones he once wore back in the Leaf. It made him miss home. Even the lotus smell of the hotel didn't help with that problem. After putting on his clothes, he went out into the main room. When he opened his door, Annabeth also opened her door and was about to exit her room. They stared at each other for about a minute or so before Naruto broke the silence. You look good by the way. Naruto complimented. Upon hearing that, Annabeth got flustered and looked away. Thanks. You look good too. She stuttered. They sat by the main couch. Annabeth took the remote and turned on the TV and tuned into National Geographic. Naruto just sat there watching what Annabeth was watching. He didn't know why, but he felt like he swallowed something weird. A few minutes later Grover was out of his room, followed by Percy a little later. Of all the channels to watch, Percy said. You turn it to National Geographic. Are you insane? It's interesting. Annabeth said. I love this place. Grover said mid-chew. You guys wanna check out the lobby? Naruto offered. The others raised their head from what they were doing and gave Naruto an excited look. The four of them raised their cash cards and yelled, "Let's go." Back down at the lobby, the group stared at the different games to play and food to eat. "So what are you guys gonna do first?" Percy asked them. Naruto screamed. "Ramen." The others screamed and ran towards the games they wanted to play. Naruto ran towards the ramen stand to quench his long-time hunger for ramen. He stepped inside. The stand was very similar to the stand back in the Leaf Village, but it was far bigger. Like in the original stand, there was a counter with stools for those who came alone. Throughout the whole store, there were tables scattered for those who came with a companion. No one was eating at the moment, so he went to the counter and took a seat. "No way," he said in awe. "It's just like home." "Hi there. May I take your order, sir?" said a voice from the counter. "A bowl of miso ramen please." Naruto ordered, then handed his cash card. "Will that be all, sir?" the waitress asked. "That will be all," Naruto answered. "For now." His voice trailed off with a small chuckle right after. The waitress nodded and turned to the kitchen and headed inside. The blonde took one more look around. A few minutes later, the waitress came out holding a bowl of ramen on a tray. "One bowl of miso ramen coming up," the waitress said. "Wow," Naruto said with stars in his eyes. "It looks like how they serve it back home, and the aroma is there too." He took a sip of the broth. "It tastes exactly like the one from back home." "I'm glad you like it, sir," the waitress said. "If I may ask, where is this place based on?" Naruto inquired. "Oh, this place is based from a ramen stand from somewhere far away." "From where?" "You wouldn't believe me if I told you." "Try me, I've seen pretty weird stuff already." "Well, the original location of this ramen stand is based in the Elemental Nations, from the Leaf Village." "Who opened it?" "Well, Lady Hibe, of course." "Wait. Flashback. Thanks for the treat again, Iruka-sensei. You're the best," a young Naruto exclaimed as he slurped his ramen. "No problem, Naruto. We have to celebrate your promotion to Chunin," Iruka said. "You better be prepared, Naruto. Being Chunin means there will be more responsibilities on your shoulders now." "I know, Iruka-sensei. It sucks that I don't get to be as free as before. Or sleep in your class as I did back at the academy." Both of them laughed at the last part. As the two were talking, a beautiful woman in a bright red dress that stood out from the rest of the citizens came up to the stand. The male customers' noses bled, including Iruka and Naruto, at the sight of the lady. "One bowl of your best ramen, please," the woman said in an almost sultry voice. "See, coming right up." "Teiuchi," the owner said. End of flashback. "That was her," Naruto exclaimed as he remembered. "Oh, you're from there?" the waitress asked. Naruto nodded. "I'm not exactly from around here. I've seen her couple of times, but I haven't paid her much attention." "I see. She loved the place and the food when she visited there. When she left, she was pretty sad about leaving the food, so she brought it back here with her." As Naruto and the waitress talked in for the next hour, the bowls kept piling up to inhuman levels. "Where does all this stuff go?" the waitress and the customers who came in thought. "Good thing, the cash card has unlimited cash, or else we'd be very broke right now," Naruto thought as he remembered the time Jiraiya escaped from him after promising to pay for his ramen. About a couple or maybe 10 bowls of ramen later, the blonde decided that he had had his fill of his favorite food in the world. "That was amazing," Naruto said aloud. "Wow. Cool." A voice came from behind him. Naruto turned around. Standing behind him was an olive-skinned boy with shaggy black hair. This boy was holding some kind of card game. "That's a lot of ramen you ate, mister," the boy said in awe. Naruto scratched the back of his head. "Yeah, you never know when you get to eat something this delicious again." "That's true. This ramen is super delicious," the boy agreed. "We could definitely get along." "What's your name?" Naruto asked. "I'm Nico. What's yours?" The boy answered. The name's Naruto. Pleased to meet you. Nice to meet you too. Naruto noticed the card game that Nico was holding. He recognized some of the pictures on the cards. They were pictures of the gods with different numbers written. This piqued his interest. What's that you got there? The blonde asked. Mythomagic, it's a card game. Wanna play? Nico offered. Sure. Why not? And so Nico showed Naruto his card game and even taught him how to play. The blonde quickly got a hang of the game and already beat the younger boy after a couple of games. Okay, maybe his luck might have played a part in theatrical. A few games later, a girl who had the same olive-green complexion as Nico, black eyes, and dark silky hair covered with a floppy green hat entered the ramen shop. She looked around the shop and saw Nico and Naruto playing. She blushed a bit when he saw the blonde. She shook herself back to reality and went on to scold the younger boy. Nico! What did I tell you about bothering people while they were eating? She scolded. Naruto looked up and lagged for a bit when he saw the girl. It's fine, miss. Naruto said. But I'm not bothering him. Nico whined. The girl gave the younger boy a, we'll talk about this later, look, and then turned to Naruto. Sorry if my brother bothered you. My name's Bianca. I'm Naruto. And no, Nico didn't bother me at all. He's good company. Naruto introduced himself. They shook hands as they introduced themselves to each other. His hand is warm. Bianca thought. She's kinda cute. Naruto thought. The two found themselves staring at each other. Nico cleared his throat to get the attention of the both of them. This caused the two to blush and immediately look away to shake their feeling off. And Nico, you said you wanted to try the water slide. Bianca stuttered. Oh yeah. Naruto, wanna join us? Nico offered. I think I would pass. I still have to find my friends. Naruto politely declined. Bianca was bummed out by that. She was hoping to spend more time with the blonde. Ah. See you around then, Naruto. Nico bid goodbye. Bye guys. See you around. Naruto replied. Naruto and Bianca had one last look at each other and smiled before the latter left with her brother. Chapter 18, Getting Closer. The Lotus Hotel and Casino treated our demigods pretty well. After days of running around places, not to mention not showering, they have finally had time to relax and enjoy themselves just for a day. Or that's what they thought. The demigods were in awe as they entered the hotel. It was the first time for all of them to enter a place this grand. The four of them separated right after they left the room. Percy wanted to try the giant water slide snaking through the different floors of the hotel. Annabeth tried different trivia and puzzle video games, but she ultimately settled on a 3D Sims game. Finally, Grover had his eyes glued on some kind of reverse hunter game where the deer were hunting humans. Naruto, after tiring the ramen chef in the hotel's own Ichiraka Ramen, decided to try the other sights and amenities that the place had to offer. The only problem is that there was this nagging feeling in the back of his head that something was wrong or that there was something that he had to do. He couldn't place his mind to it, like he was slowly forgetting about it. Right in another part of the hotel, the blonde made it to the casino. He knew that he won't be able to play as he is now. I always wanted to know what Grandma Tsunade gets when she plays stuff like this. He thought. With a mischievous grin and half-ram seal, he transformed into one of the adults who angrily left the casino after losing big time. The only money in his pockets was the money Ares had given them from the quest for the shield. He really didn't want to leave the money in the room no matter how safe the staff says it is. He doubted that it would be enough for the poker tables, so he tried his luck with the slot machines first. The blonde took a seat in front of one of the slot machines, and dropped a quarter inside the machine. With fingers crossed, he pulled the lever and waited for what would happen. All heads turned to him when the machine made a loud noise and coins started to pour out of it. She would be so jealous, he thought as he chuckled to himself. This went on for a few minutes until he got enough to join the poker tables. 1 hour later. The still disguised Naruto studied his opponents carefully. There were only 3 of them left on the high-stakes table. One guy had a huge smirk as the first 3 cards were dealt. The other was trying to hide his nervousness, seeing that his cards weren't good enough to play. The dealer placed a queen of hearts, a 10 of spades, and a jack of hearts. Check. All 3 of them said. The last 2 cards were slowly placed on the table, a 10 of hearts and a 2 of clubs. One already folded, seeing that his cards had no chance of winning. The only ones left in the game was a guy wearing what you would call dad jeans and a denim jacket and a loose t-shirt, and of course Naruto. Naruto pushed all his chips into the pot, earning gasps from the crowd. Getting overconfident, are we? The older man smirked wider as he pushed his chips towards the pot as well. Naruto remained unnerved. Okay, reveal your hands. The dealer announced. The older man slammed his cards, which were the 2 remaining 10 cards from the deck, on the table. 4 of a kind. Game over, hoser. He then proceeded to pull the whole pot to his side of the table. Not so fast. The disguised blonde cleared his throat and revealed his hand, a king of hearts and an ace of hearts. The older man's mouth fell wide open after seeing Naruto's cards. He was too stunned to say anything. His friends had to haul him away from the table. He is so cool. That was amazing. You're so gnarly. The other people around the table cheered as the blonde collected his chips. Where do I encash these? Naruto asked. Over there. The dealer pointed to a counter in another part of the casino. Thank you. As he was waiting for his cash, a voice whispered in his head. Don't be fooled, my son. What? Naruto asked aloud. The clerk gave him a quizzical look. Did you say something, sir? It's nothing. The blonde shook his head. A few minutes later, the clerk gave him a briefcase full of cash. Here you go, sir, she said. Naruto thanked the clerk and walked away. The voice came back again. Do not forget your quests. Do not fall for their tricks. Then, it dawned on him. He remembered his quest that seemed to have made resurgence. How could I forget? He said and swore in ancient Greek. He sealed the briefcase away in the seal on his right arm. The blonde ran into the bathroom and poofed back to normal. As he ran out, he met out with Percy, who seemed to be looking for their friends. You figured it out too? Percy asked. More like a voice whispered to me. I think it was my mom. Naruto answered. How about you? There was this guy who talking weird. I think his name was Garen or something. Percy started. Why does it sound like you didn't get the name right? The blonde teased. Percy glared at Naruto. Right, sorry. Naruto chuckled. He continued. When I asked him what year it was, he said it was 1977. This is bad. I can't believe we forgot about the quest. You got that right. I'm trying to think of what we're supposed to do, but I can't think of it out of the top of my head. Heck, I can't even think of my mom's name. This is bad. Naruto commented. We've got to find them and get out of here. I'll get Grover. Percy said. Let's meet back at the entrance. Naruto nodded, then they split up. It didn't take long for Naruto to find Annabeth. The daughter of Athena was still busy building a city on one of those 3D simulation games. Hey Annabeth. Naruto greeted. I hate to burst your bubble, but we've got to get out of here. Annabeth seemingly didn't hear him. Naruto shook her by the shoulders. She looked up annoyed. What? Can't you see I'm busy? That's cool and all, but we've got a quest to complete. Quest? What are you talking about? I've got to build these. She didn't finish her sentence. This place is a trap. Once again, she seemed like she didn't hear a thing. Not until Naruto shook her again. What now? Master Bolt, Underworld, Percy's mom, any of them ring a bell? Oh come on. Let me finish my city. Naruto was trying to stay calm. There are people here from 1977. You check in here and stay forever. So? She asked. Isn't that great? We're having the time of our life. The older blonde took a deep breath. He knew that arguing was pointless. She seemed to be deep under the spell. Just then, an idea hit him. A big grin made it to Naruto's mouth. She focused on Annabeth and made the necessary hand signs. A few seconds later, Annabeth froze in fear like in the water park. She was about to scream, but Naruto placed a hand on her shoulder. She slowly turned around. "Na Naruto? How long have we?" "Beats me, but I'm getting a bad feeling about that. Come on, let's meet Grover and Percy." "Where?" "At the entrance." "Let's go." Hotel entrance. Annabeth and Naruto arrived at the entrance to see Percy nursing his head and Grover trying to apologize. "Why do you have a hoof-shaped mark on your forehead?" Naruto pointed out. "Ask him," Percy said, pointing at Grover. "I tried to super kick the redneck in the game, but Percy was right in front of me trying to get my attention," Grover said as he laughed nervously. After a few rounds of laughing much to Percy's annoyance, Percy urged his friends to go. "Come on, we need to." He didn't get to finish, because the guy from earlier appeared from behind them in the same enthusiastic tone from when they entered the hotel. "Hi," the bellhop said. "Just in time. We just opened a whole new level of games for Platinum Card members." "Nope. We're leaving," all four of them said. "Oh," the bellhop's expression drooped. "That's a shame." Grover seemed to be getting under the spell again. "Maybe, we could." "Grover." "No." The three demigods said. They burst through the doors of the Lotus Casino and ran down the sidewalk. It seemed like afternoon, just the same time they entered the hotel, but there was something different. Dark gray clouds covered the sky, and lightning flashed across the desert. "Wait," Percy said. "What is Ares' backpack doing here?" He must have enchanted it," Annabeth said. Guys," Grover called his friend's attention from a newspaper stand. "You're going to want to look at this." His friends made their way over. Percy sighed in relief. "Good. We're still in the same year." "No, not that. Look at the day." Grover pointed. "What?" the others exclaimed. "It was the 20th of June. We were in there for 5 days," Annabeth said. "But it only seemed like hours," Percy said. They all looked crestfallen, but Naruto spoke up, "There's nothing else we can do now. Let's focus on the quest." "Okay," the other three said in unison. "But, how do we get to LA?" Percy asked. Annabeth perked up like a light bulb lit up on top of her head. She walked up to the road and hailed a taxi cab. "I always wanted to do that," she commented. A taxi pulled over to the curb. She loaded her friends as if they actually had money, and told the driver, "Los Angeles, please." The taxi driver chewed his cigar and sized the group up. "That's 300 miles from here. You gotta have to pay up front. You accept casino debit cards?" Annabeth asked. The driver shrugged, "Some of them. They're basically the same as credit cards. I gotta swipe 'em first though." Annabeth handed the card over, and he swiped it on the machine. It started rattling, lights flashed, and an infinity symbol came up next to the dollar sign. The driver dropped the cigar from his mouth. He looked back at the group, his eyes were as wide as dinner plates. "Where to in Los Angeles, Your Highness?" Annabeth beamed a wide grin, and sat up straight. She seemed to like to be called that. "Santa Monica Pier. Get us there fast, and you can keep the change." "Your wish is my command," the driver said, and sped through the desert at least 90 miles an hour. On the way to Santa Monica, the group had plenty of time to talk. Percy told his friends about his latest dream, although he wasn't sure about the details anymore. It seems like the hotel had altered his memory somehow. For the life of him, he couldn't remember the title. "The Silent One," Annabeth suggested. "The Rich One." "Maybe. None of them feels right though," Percy said, scratching his chin. "The throne room sounds like it belongs to Hades. I mean, that's how it's usually described." Grover chimmered. Percy shook his head. "Something's wrong. The throne room wasn't the main part of the dream." And the voice from the pit. It just didn't feel like a god's voice. I don't like where this is going. Naruto spoke up. Why? What's wrong? Annabeth asked. This just doesn't feel like a conflict of the gods, maybe something older, more ancient. Naruto said. Annabeth's eyes widened. What? You see it too? Naruto asked. Annabeth shook her head. No. But it has to be Hades. It must have been him who sent this invisible guy to steal the bolt, and maybe something went wrong. She said, but she sounded like she was convincing herself about it. I don't think it's that simple, Annabeth. I mean, Percy's dream was centered on the pit, and there aren't that many pits in Greek mythology. And if it isn't Hades? Guys, can we please not overthink? Grover said. It has to be Hades. All of them fell silent after that. A few minutes of silence later, Naruto whispered something to Annabeth's ear. The girl's whole face turned red. When did you? What wrong? The other two boys asked. Back in the truck, maybe the same time Percy had his. You know, you kinda look like, Naruto was about to tell the others, but Annabeth covered his mouth, preventing him from speaking it out. Fine, I won't tell them. Naruto relented. But I saw Thalia there though, along with Luke. I wonder what it means. I don't think it has something to do with this quest. Grover said. Maybe something with the... Annabeth caught herself, like she was saying something she wasn't supposed to. What? Percy asked. Annabeth cursed herself for almost letting herself slip like that. It's nothing, she said. Another round of silence came over, and stayed for the rest of the trip. Not one of them wanted to think of whatever they had to face ahead. A few hours later, the cab raced past a sign that read California State Line, 12 miles. After passing the sign, Annabeth said, the answer is in the Underworld. Percy saw spirits of the dead. It has to be there. She kept trying to boost morale by suggesting strategies for getting into the land of the dead, but it sounded like she was trying to cheer herself up. The others weren't into it either, Naruto in particular. As the cab sped west, the older blonde began to sense the feeling of death in the air the closer they got to California. Also, the closer they got, the more Naruto doubted the whole Underworld mission. And, in the back of his head, something was telling him they were entering somebody else's turf, but he decided to ignore this. At sunset, the taxi dropped them off at the beach in Santa Monica. It was exactly as you would see it in the movies, but there was the smell of death in the air. Okay, time to look for the Underworld, Naruto said to his friends. I have to talk to my dad first, Percy said. What? Why? Naruto inquired. Hearing this is news to him. Oh yeah, Annabeth said out loud. I forgot you missed Percy getting out of the Mississippi. Percy nodded. Back then, voice told me that my dad wanted me to come here at the beach. So, what now? Annabeth asked. Percy looked towards the Pacific without answering Annabeth. The setting sun was coloring the ocean gold. The son of Poseidon started to walk to the surf. Percy? Annabeth asked again. What are you doing? Percy kept walking until the water was up to his waist, then up to his chest. Percy! Don't you know how polluted the water is here? Grover called out. The son of Poseidon still didn't say anything, but that was when his head went under. Annabeth sighed. So, is anyone else hungry? Grover asked. I am. I'll go get us some food. Annabeth, you want anything? Naruto offered. Just a sandwich. Annabeth answered. Grover. Naruto turned to the satyr. Coffee, please, he requested. Naruto nodded. Be back in a flash. A few minutes of walking later, Naruto made it to a coffee shop. In front of the coffee shop was a woman in a gray work suit with a phone pressed to her ear. Along with her was a sandy blonde-haired girl that was tied to a bun. She had a look that suggested she was Native American, and her eyes seemed to shift in color from green, to blue, to brown. The sandy blonde-haired girl looked annoyed at her companion. Jane, can we go now? Dad is waiting for us at the carnival, and there's no way I'm missing my time with him. The girl complained to the so-called Jane. Naruto approached them. A bit in a bind, are we? Tell me about it. My dad set aside this time for us too, but Jane is wasting it with that call of hers. The girl told her. Just a sec. Naruto said. Naruto plucked the phone out of Jane's hand and ended the call. What are you doing? Give me back my phone, boy. Jane said angrily. Naruto just stared at her. Hey. Are you even listening? She continued. A little breeze blew from the right, then Jane slumped backward snoring. Thanks. But what did you do? The girl said. Nothing really. Naruto lied. Will she be okay? She'll be fine. She'll wake up eventually. Tell your dad she was taking an important call. Thanks again. No problem. The girl turned around and went on their way. Naruto, on the other hand, walked in the coffee shop to buy himself and his friends some food. When Naruto got out of the coffee shop, 2 police officers walked by. They seemed to recognize the blonde, and they whispered to each other. One of them radioed it in. Sir, could you come with us to the station, please? One of the police said. Oh shit. Naruto cursed to himself. Bad timing. The blonde started backing away slowly. Sir, don't try to run. He turned around about to run away, with the police about to run after him, but the blonde disappeared in a puff of smoke, leaving the police flabbergasted. Back at the beach. Naruto arrived at about the same time Percy made it to land. Yeah. That was close. Naruto said. What happened? Grover asked. 2 officers came by the coffee shop. Naruto answered. How'd you get away? Annabeth asked. I used my clones. More importantly, he said as Percy walked up. What did your dad say? Percy shook his head. My dad wasn't there. It was just a messenger. She just gave me these. He took out 4 pearls. She said these will come in handy later on and that everything returns to the sea. She also said not to trust the gifts. What do they mean? She's a bit cryptic, isn't she? Naruto commented. No gift comes without a price. Annabeth warned. But, she didn't ask for anything. Percy said. No. She shook her head. Percy, there is no such thing as a free lunch. That's saying in ancient Greece. It translates pretty well into American. There will be a price. You wait. Well, aren't we cheery? The older blonde commented, getting a huff from the only girl in the group. So, where to next? Grover asked. We definitely don't have time to search the whole of California. Oh wait. Percy exclaimed, then dug into his pockets. I swiped it from Medusa's office. He said, showing his friends an address slip. Nice, Naruto praised. Let's go get a bus. With some spare change from Aries' backpack, they took a bus to West Hollywood. Percy showed the driver the address slip, but the driver said he never heard of it before. The driver almost recognized the 2 boys, but thanks to some quick thinking from Grover, they managed to divert suspicions. Seeing that riding the bus wouldn't help, they just got off at the next stop. They wandered for miles on foot, trying to look for the studio. Nobody knew about it, and it never appeared on any phone books. For multiple times, they had to duck into alleys to avoid cop cars. Apparently, they were riled up when they saw Naruto back in Santa Monica. When they passed by an appliance store, Naruto and Percy froze when they saw what was playing. It was playing an interview of someone they knew all too well, Smelly Gabe. He was talking to Barbara Walters like he was some kind of celebrity. The interview, itself, was taking place in the apartment, in the middle of a poker game, which was typical for the middle-aged man. A fake tear glistened on his cheek. He was saying, honest, Ms. Walters, if it wasn't for Sugar here, my grief counselor, I'd be a wreck. My stepson and his friend took everything I cared about. My wife, my Camaro. I am sorry. I have trouble talking about it. There you have it, America. Barbara Walters turned to the camera. A man torn apart. Two adolescent boys with serious issues. Let me show you, again, the last known photo of these troubled young fugitives, taken a week ago in Denver. The screen cut to a grainy photo of the group standing outside the diner back in Colorado as they were talking to Aries. Who are the other children in this photo? Barbara Walters asked dramatically. Who is the man with them? Are these boys delinquents? Are they terrorists? Or perhaps they've become brainwashed victims of a frightening new cult. When we come back, we chat with a leading child psychologist. Stay tuned, America. I'm going to kill him when we get back to New York. Percy grumbled. Hey. Maybe my mom would turn him into a jackalope. Naruto said. They left the appliance store as soon as the sun was setting on the horizon. About that time, the shady characters of the LA night were starting to come out. They passed by gangbangers, bums, and street hawkers, who looked at us like they were trying to figure if we were worth the trouble of mugging. As they hurried past the entrance of an alley, a voice from the darkness called out to them. Percy stopped. Before he knew it, a gang of kids had surrounded them. 6 of them in all white, kids with expensive clothes and mean faces, like the kids at Yancey Academy, rich brats playing at being bad boys. Acting on instinct, Percy drew his sword. When the sword appeared, the other kids started backing away, except for their leader who charged at them with a switchblade. Percy swung his sword. The kid yelped, but the blade passed through him harmlessly. He looked down. What the? Nice try, kid. The leader said. He was about to attack again, but a loud yawn came from the Naruto. Stop that or your friend's gonna get it. The leader threatened. Did you say something? Naruto asked. I was about to get skewered, but you weren't paying attention. Percy shouted back. Sorry, they just didn't seem worth the effort. Naruto lazily said. We don't have time for this. Annabeth complained. The leader's face turned red seeing that their victims weren't taking him seriously. Arg. Give us your money or else you're not leaving here alive. Just then, a projectile flew past the boy's cheek leaving a cut on his face. Naruto appeared in front of him, planted a fist on his cheek, then kicked him on the chest, sending him flying into a dumpster. The others turned away and was about to run, but 5 clones of Naruto appeared in front of them and knocked them out with a good punch to the gut. Next time don't go on acting tough if you don't have the balls to show it. He grumbled. Naruto dispelled his clones, and then turned to his friends who were looking at him in awe. Let's go. They started wandering again. 1 block away, they made it to the only store that was open in the entire place. There was a neon sign glaring with the words Krista's Water Bdel Pace. Krusty's Waterbed Palace. Grover translated. Maybe we can ask for directions. Percy suggested. It's worth a try. Annabeth said. The 4 of them entered the store. Customers. A voice came from the inside, that made the 4 of them jump. Chapter 19, The Underworld. Customers. A voice boomed from the inside the store making the 4 of them jump. Walking from the inside of the store was a raptor in a leisure suit that looked like it came from the Lotus Hotel. It looked like it belonged in the 70s. He was 7 feet tall, with absolutely no hair. He had gray, leathery skin, thick-lidded eyes, and a cold, reptilian smile. He was moving towards them slowly. Welcome. My name is Krusty, he said with a tartar yellow smile. Ah. So that's what the sign said? Percy exclaimed. Annabeth elbowed him. Ow. Percy complained. Annabeth ignored him. Sorry about my friend here. He can't read very well. Anyway, we're here to ask for directions. The salesman seemed skeptical. You mean hide from those no-good kids? He grumbled. They hang around every night. I get a lot of people here thanks to them. Oh hell no. We took care of them. Naruto said. Well, good for you then. Say, you want to look at a waterbed? Krusty offered. We're not here for, Annabeth tried to protest. Krusty ignored her. He placed a hand on Percy's shoulder and steered him further inside the store. Hey. Percy protested. The daughter of Athena sighed in frustration. While they were walking, Naruto asked, guys, don't you think Krusty is short for something? Annabeth tried to think. As the both blondes were thinking, Grover dove into one of the mattresses. Guys, this is cool. We can get massages. He urged his friends. Krusty said as he was stroking his chin. Almost. Almost what? Percy asked. Krusty ignored him. Instead he turned to Annabeth and showed her to another mattress. Do me a favor and try this one here, honey. Might fit. What do you mean might fit? Naruto asked. Again, Krusty didn't reply. He just patted Annabeth on the shoulder and led over to the Safari Deluxe model with teakwood lions carved into the frame and a leopard-patterned comforter and urged her to lie down. When she refused to do so, Krusty pushed her. Hey! She protested. Krusty snapped his fingers. Ergo! Ropes sprang from the sides of the bed, lashing around Annabeth, holding her to the mattress. Grover tried to get up. The same thing happened to his black satin mattress while it was shaking from his million-hand massage. And not CC cool? He yelled. And not C cool at all? The giant looked at Annabeth, then at the duo. They both took a step back, but his hand shot out and clamped both of them around the back of the neck. Well, at least he tried, for Naruto. The blonde was way too slippery for Krusty to catch. Let them go. Naruto demanded. Oh, sure, eventually. I just have to make them fit first. What? Was the blonde's puzzled response. All the beds are exactly 6 feet long. Your friends here are too short. I got to make them fit. The two kept struggling. I can't stand imperfect measurements. Krusty muttered. Ergo. A new set of ropes leaped out from the top and bottom of the beds, wrapping around Grover and Annabeth's ankles, then around their armpits. The ropes started tightening, pulling them from both ends. Don't worry, Krusty told the two, these are stretching jobs. Maybe 3 extra inches on their spines. They might even live. Now why don't we find a bed you like, huh? Percy. Naruto. Grover yelled. Percy's mind was racing. He was trying to think of a way to free his friends, preferably with Naruto's help. He knew he couldn't take the Krusty on his own. If he tried to reach for his sword now, Krusty would snap his neck, easily. So, your name's not Krusty, is it? Percy asked. The giant shook his head. No, it's... Naruto spoke up. Proc Rusts, the stretcher. I imagine that name won't work for your business. Krusty's eyes lit up. Yeah. That's why I go as Krusty. It has a nice ring to it. Percy commented. You guys think so? The giant asked. Both boys nodded. You know what? Since you're such a good host, the least we can do is check out the water beds. Naruto said. Krusty seemed to be elated and led the two boys to the next water bed. What are you guys doing? Annabeth complained. A little help here. Naruto winked at her as a clone appeared behind him and made its way to Annabeth and Grover to free them. Krusty didn't seem to notice since he was preoccupied explaining the bed's specifications. After the giant was done, Naruto said, these beds are amazing and all, but not all your customers are 6 feet, I assume. Krusty shook his head, unfortunately not. They are so inconsiderate. Then, they go complaining about the fitting. So what about if the customer is over 6 feet? Percy asked. Easy. Krusty said as he let go of Percy to get his double-bladed axe. Hey. He didn't get to finish. Naruto and the clone he made earlier pushed Krusty into a water bed. Before he could get up, Percy snapped his fingers and shouted ergo. Ropes lashed around the giant securing him onto the mattress. Center him just right. Naruto said. The ropes readjusted themselves at the shinobi's command. Krusty's whole head stuck out the top. His feet stuck out the bottom. No. Wait. We can talk about this. Krusty tried to bargain. Percy, will you do the honors? Naruto said. With pleasure, Percy uncapped his pen. "You drive a hard bargain," he told Percy. "I'll give you a discount, 30% off on selected floor models. I think I'll start with the top." Percy raised his sword. "No money down. No interest for 6 months." Krusty added. "Just do it already, seaweed brain." Annabeth scolded as she walked up to the two. Percy swung his sword at Krusty's head. "You look taller." Naruto joked. "Haha, very funny," Annabeth said. Grover went to look at the bulletin board behind Krusty's sales desk. There was an advertisement for Hermes delivery service, and another for the all-new Compendium of L.A. Area Monsters, the only monstrous yellow pages you'll ever need. Under that, a bright orange flyer for DOA Recording Studios, offering commissions for heroes' souls. The flyer said, "We are always looking for new talent." DOA's address was right underneath with a map. "Guys, I know where the studio is," the satyr told his friends. "Where?" Percy asked as he recapped his sword. "It's a block from here," Grover said, showing the map. "Cool, then let's go," Naruto said. When the blonde said that, the group heard the doors open and 2 female voices talking to each other. Naruto drew a kunai and hid behind the mattresses. This prompted his friends to draw their own weapons and scurry off to hide. He signaled his friends to stay quiet. Due to the commotion of the group, a pen fell from the desk, revealing their presence inside the store. The 2 girls became cautious, drew their weapons and shouted, "We know you're there. Come out." The demigods came out of hiding to face them with weapons still drawn. In front of them were 2 girls maybe about 14 years of age, wearing silver jackets and camo pants. They were holding their bows ready to fire. As soon as the girls saw Naruto, they lowered their bow and said, "Wait. You. What are you doing here?" Grover's expression instantly became dreamy at the sight of them, while Annabeth had a relieved look on her face. For Percy, well, he was looking clueless at who the new people were. "I'm here on a quest with my friends." "Wait, you know me?" the blonde inquired. "Yes, of course. There's a lot of talk around the hunt about you ever since our mistress claimed you," one of them answered. "Wait, by hunt you mean, my mom's hunt?" Naruto asked. "Duh, of course. What else?" the other hunter answered, then looked him up and down. "You don't look like much. All the talk around camp was nothing like the real thing." "Phoebe. You don't want the lady to hear you saying that," the first one scolded. "I know you're thinking the same thing, Liz," Phoebe replied. "Yeah. But still." Annabeth decided to stop their argument. "Ahem. So, what are you girls doing here?" she asked. "We came to slay a giant," Liz answered. "You mean Krusty?" Percy asked. Both girls nodded. "Yeah, about that," Naruto said. "We already took care of him." "What?" Phoebe exclaimed. "Now you come and take our jobs too." "No, it's not like that," Annabeth explained. "We got caught so they freed us." "Is it true?" Phoebe asked. All of them nodded, except for Grover, who was still looking at the girls dreamily. "Anyway, it was nice to meet you, and sorry about my sudden arrival. I take it you girls were stirred up when you heard the news?" Naruto said. "Are you kidding?" Phoebe said. "A lot of the hunters would very much like to have your head. They still can't accept that you are the lady's son." "Oh. That's a bummer." Naruto looked down with sadness on his face. "I was thinking that you guys could be my sisters or something like that." He looked up to them, this time with a smile. "So, I still have to gain your trust, and I know you don't have much of an opinion on boys, but I would really like to get along with you guys. We will have to see. For now, you have quest, am I right?" Liz reminded. "Oh yeah. Almost forgot. We should really get going. We still have to get to the Underworld," Annabeth said. Naruto bid them farewell with a huge smile on his face. "I will be seeing you again, right?" Both of them nodded and watched the demigods go on their way. "Well, that was unexpected," Liz commented. "I'm not sure about him yet." Phoebe said. He doesn't seem as arrogant as other boys, though. He will still have to prove himself to the hunt for our sisters to accept him. Agreed. Come on. Lady Artemis will be thrilled at who we ran into today. Liz nodded. At the recording studio. The demigods stood in the shadows of Valencia Boulevard, looking up at gold letters etched in black marble, DOA Recording Studios. Underneath, stenciled on the glass doors, no solicitors. No loitering. No living. Oh goody. Was all they were thinking as they entered the studio. It was almost midnight, but the lobby was brightly lit and full of people. Behind the security desk sat a tough-looking guard with sunglasses and an earpiece. Percy turned to his friends. Okay. Who's ready to hoop some Underworld butt? With that amazing plan you said earlier. Naruto said. Why yeah, about that. Grover tried to protest. Are you sure the plan would work? Annabeth asked. Guys, I think we should trust in Percy's plan. Naruto offered. I mean we got here with each other's help, and I don't think we would go anywhere if we stop trusting each other now. Right. Annabeth said. I'm sorry Percy. I trust you. I trust all of you. She gave Grover a nudge. Oh, right. He chimed in. We got this far. We'll find the Master Bolt and save your mom. No problem. Percy looked at his friends, and felt really grateful. Over the course of their journey, they have almost died, felt hungry together, and evaded the police. Here they are now, about to enter the Underworld, and they were still trying to be brave. Naruto placed a hand on Percy's shoulder. Lead the way, Captain. Percy held the pearls in his pockets. Let's go. We got this. They walked inside the DOA lobby. Music played softly on hidden speakers. The carpet and walls were steel gray. Pencil cacti grew in the corners like skeleton hands. The furniture was black leather, and every seat was taken. There were people sitting on couches, people standing up, people staring out the windows or waiting for the elevator. Nobody moved, or talked, or did much of anything. Out of the corner of their eyes, the demigods could see them all just fine, but when they focused on any one of them in particular, they started looking transparent. They could see right through their bodies. They approached the security guard's desk, which was raised so they had to look up at him. He was tall and elegant, with chocolate-colored skin and bleached blonde hair shaved military style. He wore tortoise-shell shades and a silk Italian suit that matched his hair. A black rose was pinned to his lapel under a silver name tag. Percy read the name tag, and then looked at him in bewilderment. Your name is Chiron. Do I look like a centaur to you? The security guard said. Annabeth sighed. Percy, we've been through that back in Yancey, remember? Naruto whispered to his dyslexic friend. The attendant leaned across the desk. There was in his glasses except the group's reflection, but his smile was sweet and cold. Can you not read, young lad, like your friend here? He had a strange British-style accent, but it sounded like it was his second language. Tell me, mate, do I look like a centaur? No. Percy slowly replied. Sir, he added smoothly. Sir, I said. He pinched the name tag and ran his finger under the letters. Can you read this, mate? It says Charon. Say it with me, Charon. Charon. Percy repeated. Amazing. Now all of you say Mr. Charon. But. Annabeth and Grover tried to protest, but Charon insisted. The two decided to relent to avoid any trouble. Mr. Charon, all of them said save for Naruto, who was biting his lip trying not to laugh. Charon noticed this, so he turned to the blonde and said, I didn't hear you there, young lad. Annabeth elbowed him. Oh right, sorry. Naruto said. Mr. Charon. Well done. He sat back. I hate being confused with that old horseman. And now, how may I help you little dead ones? Percy opened his mouth to speak, but the question was stuck in his stomach. He turned to his friends for support. We want to go to the Underworld. It was Annabeth who answered. Charon's mouth twitched. His mind went blank for a second. Is everything alright, sir? Annabeth asked. Karen shook his head back to reality. Sorry, I'm just used to the usual screaming, like, there must be a mistake, Mr. Karen. It's just refreshing. It is? Annabeth asked, not expecting his response. Yep, mates. Straightforward and honest, just how I like it. Karen said. So how did you die, then? Annabeth nudged Grover. Oh, he said. Drowned, in the bathtub. All four of you? Karen asked. Not for me. I was taking a walk when a black cat crossed my path, so I had to take the long way home. Somewhere along the way, I got lost on the path of life, so I didn't see the cliff in front of me. Naruto explained. That left Karen and his friend's mouth hanging. Mate, I don't know if that was a lie or not, but wow. After taking in Naruto's story, Karen asked Annabeth and Percy. What about you two? Did you drown with your friend here? I died when my bus blew up. Percy answered. I ate some stranger's food which was, poisoned. Annabeth answered. Karen looked mildly impressed. I don't suppose you have coins for passage. Normally, with adults, you see, I could charge your American Express, or add the ferry price to your last cable bill. But with children, alas, you never die prepared. Suppose you'll have to take a seat for a few centuries. Oh, but we have coins. Percy set 3 golden drachmas on the counter, from his pocket. Well, now. Karen moistened his lips. Real drachmas. Real golden drachmas. I haven't seen these in. His fingers hovered greedily over the coins. Then Karen realized something and looked at Percy. Here now, he said. You couldn't read my name correctly. Are you dyslexic, lad? No, I said. I'm dead. Karen leaned forward and took a sniff. You're not dead. I should have known. You're a godling. All of you are. Get out of here or go actually die if you really want to pass through. Naruto discreetly unsealed one of the scrolls on his pouch and brought out a small cloth bag filled with drachmas. He opened it to reveal the contents to Karen. Even if we have more of this. Do you think I can be bought godling? Karen raised his voice, but he was looking at the bag of drachmas. Say, how much is in that thing anyway? He asked curiously. I guess we'll never know. Naruto said, pocketing the cloth bag, and turned to go, with his friend following his lead. It's a shame too, we have more to offer you. Percy said, letting the coins run through his fingers in his pockets. Tisk tisk, I bet your boss doesn't pay you enough. Annabeth added, trying to sound confident. That did it. Wait. Karen said as the group was almost at the door. We can talk about this. Naruto broke into a mischievous grin, with back still turned. Gotcha. He thought. The group turned back to the counter. We're listening. The blonde said. You said my boss doesn't pay me enough, lass? Oh, you don't know the half of it. How would you like to babysit these spirits all day? Always, please don't let me be dead, or, please let me across for free. I haven't had a pay raise in 3,000 years. Do you imagine suits like this come cheap? You deserve better, Annabeth agreed. A little appreciation. Respect. Good pay. With every word she said, Naruto taunted Karen by throwing it up and down. Karen glanced down at his silk Italian jacket, as if imagining himself in something even better. I must say. You kids are making some sense now. Just a little. We could mention a pay raise while I'm talking to Hades. Percy added. Karen sighed. The boat's almost full, anyway. I might as well add you 4 and be off. There we are. Naruto said and tossed the cloth bag to Karen, who greedily caught it in the air. He pocketed the bag and said, come along. The group pushed through the crowd of waiting spirits, who started grabbing at the demigod's clothes like the wind, their voices whispering things no one could decipher. Karen shoved them out of the way, grumbling, freeloaders. He escorted them into the elevator, which was already crowded with souls of the dead, each one holding a green boarding pass. Karen grabbed two spirits who were trying to get on with them and pushed them back into the lobby. Right. Now, no one get any ideas while I'm gone, he announced to the waiting room. And if anyone moves the dial off my easy listening station again, I'll make sure you're here for another 1,000 years. Understand? He shut the doors. He put a keycard into a slot in the elevator panel and the car started to descend. What happens to the spirits waiting in the lobby? Annabeth asked. Nothing, Karen said. For how long? Forever, or until I'm feeling generous. Oh, she said. That's fair. Karen raised an eyebrow. Whoever said death was fair, young miss? Wait until it's your turn. You'll die soon enough, where you're going. Oh, I doubt that. Naruto said, causing everyone to look at him. You're naive, demigod. Karen chastised. Where we're going? No, Percy cut him off. We'll survive. We have to. Suddenly, everyone got a dizzy feeling. The feeling they had of going down disappeared. Now, they were going forward. The air around them turned misty, and the spirits around them started changing shape. Their modern clothes flickered, turning into gray hooded robes. The floor of the elevator began swaying. Even Karen's clothes changed. His Italian suit was replaced by a long black robe. His tortoise-shell glasses were gone, and his eye sockets were totally dark, full of night and death and despair. Well? Karen asked Percy, who was staring at him. Nothing, Percy managed. The floor kept swaying. Grover said, I think I'm getting seasick. Apparently, even the elevator has changed. Instead, they were standing in a wooden barge. Karen was poling the barge across a dark, oily river, swirling with bones, dead fish, and other, stranger things, plastic dolls, crushed carnations, soggy diplomas with gilt edges. The river Styx, Naruto and Annabeth said together. The two of them looked at each other for a second, but Annabeth blushed and looked away. She managed to say, it's so polluted, Karen said. For thousands of years, you humans have been throwing in everything as you come across hopes, dreams, wishes that never came true. Irresponsible waste management, if you ask me. Naruto then remembered his own dream that he left in the elemental nation. He thought about it, and if ever he could still achieve it. As they sailed, mist curled off the filthy water. Above them, almost lost in the gloom, was a ceiling of stalactites. Ahead, the far shore glimmered with greenish light, the color of poison. Percy was starting to panic as they got closer. Annabeth, too, was feeling the same, so she grabbed Percy's hand. In normal circumstances, this would be embarrassing for the both of them, but given the situation, they didn't give it much thought. Naruto didn't notice this since he was lost in his thoughts. A little while longer, the shoreline of the underworld came into view. Craggy rocks and black volcanic sand stretched inland about 100 yards to the base of a high stone wall, which marched off in either direction as far as the eye could see. A sound came from somewhere nearby in the green gloom, echoing off the stones the howl of a large animal. Old Three-Face is hungry, Karen said. His smile turned skeletal in the greenish light. Bad luck for you, godlings. Good thing we have the plan. Percy said. The boat they were in slid into black sand, and everyone began to disembark. Karen said, I'd wish you luck, mate, but there isn't any down here. Mind you, don't forget to mention my pay raise. That didn't help the demigod's moods. The group followed the spirits up a well-worn path until they reached the gates of the underworld. So far, everything that Naruto has seen in the underworld is within his expectations. When they reached the gates, he was surprised to see that it looked so modern. Like a cross between a Jersey Turnpike and airport security, as Percy had said. There were 3 separate entrances under one huge black archway that said you are now entering Erebus. Each entrance had a pass-through metal detector with security cameras mounted on top. The howling they heard earlier was really loud now, but none of them could see where it was coming from. Naruto figured it was coming from Cerberus, who was supposed to be guarding the gates of the underworld. The dead queued up in the 3 lines, 2 marked attendant on duty, and 1 marked easy death. The easy death line was moving right along. The other 2 were crawling. What do you figure? I asked Annabeth. It looks like a line in the DMV. Grover said. The other two boys nodded. The fast line must go straight to the asphodel fields, she said. No contest. They don't want to risk judgment from the court, because it might go against them. There's a court for dead people? Percy asked. Yeah. 3 judges. They switch around who sits on the bench. King Minos, Thomas Jefferson, Shakespeare, people like that. Sometimes they look at a life and decide that person needs a special reward, the fields of Elysium. Sometimes they decide on punishment. But most people, well, they just lived. Nothing special, good, or bad. So they go to the asphodel fields. And do what? Grover said, imagine standing in a wheat field in Kansas. Forever. Harsh, Percy said. If you think that's harsh, what do you call the fields of punishment? Naruto said. Hey guys, look. Grover pointed out a soul getting frisked at a security desk. It's the preacher from the news. What are they going to do to him? Percy asked after he remembered who he was. Special punishment? Naruto asked. Grover nodded. Those who are really bad get Hades' special attention. The kindly ones will set up eternal torture for him. That sent a shiver down Naruto and Percy's spines. They remembered Mrs. Dodds and their encounter with her. They were not excited to see her again. But if he's a preacher, I said, and he believes in a different hell. Grover shrugged. Who says he's seeing this place the way we're seeing it? Humans see what they want to see. You're very stubborn, persistent, that way. They were getting closer to the gates. The howling was so loud now it shook the ground at my feet, but I still couldn't figure out where it was coming from. Then, about 50 feet in front of them, the green mist shimmered. Standing just where the path split into 3 lanes was an enormous shadowy monster. That's it for part 4. Thank you for watching and see you on the next video.